You are sitting on your couch tonight, staring at a screen, when suddenly a powerful urge hits you from deep within. You want something sweet, a piece of chocolate, a scoop of ice cream, or a warm pastry dripping with syrup. Or perhaps, that craving shifts toward something salty and savory, potato chips, salted nuts, or a hot bowl of instant ramen. You know it is not healthy. You know the calories packed inside far exceed what your body actually needs right now. But you reach for it anyway. You chew, and the moment that sweet or salty flavor hits your tongue, a wave of instant satisfaction rushes through your entire body. Most people call this a lack of self-control. We blame ourselves for being weak in the face of temptation. But that answer is far too simple. Science shows that what is happening in your kitchen tonight is not your fault at all. This is the lingering ghost of an ancient survival mechanism, a biological program hardwired into your brain hundreds of thousands of years ago. Let us travel back in time, to an era when the world had no supermarkets, no food delivery apps, and no refrigerators. 300,000 years ago, our ancestors, human hunter-gatherers, lived in a completely different world. In that world, food was scarce, unpredictable, and dangerous to obtain. Today you might successfully harvest a few wild berries, but tomorrow you could walk for miles without finding anything but dry shrubs. Under such extreme environmental conditions, the human body developed an incredible survival strategy. Our bodies needed an instant indicator to know which items were safe to eat and which were poisonous. That indicator was our tongue. The human tongue is a highly sophisticated chemical laboratory. Its surface is lined with thousands of tiny receptors designed to recognize specific molecules. When an early human found a ripe piece of fruit in the middle of a dense forest, the sweet receptors on their tongue would light up. In the wild, sweetness was the universal sign for two critical things: high energy and safety. Sweetness meant the plant contained glucose or fructose, simple carbohydrates that the body could instantly convert into immediate calories. Calories were the fuel needed to run from predators, hunt down prey, and keep our massive brains functioning. More importantly, in the wild, almost no toxic plants taste sweet. Poisons in nature are typically bitter or sharply acidic. So, when an ancient human tasted sweetness, their brain immediately fired a crystal clear signal. Eat as much of this as you can right now, because it is safe and it will save your life. What about salt? That situation was even more critical. Salt, or more specifically sodium, is an essential electrolyte required by every mammalian body to stay alive. Without sodium, your heart cannot beat. Your nerves cannot transmit signals to your brain. Your muscles cannot contract. Humans need salt to maintain blood pressure and balance the fluids inside their bodies. But there is a major biological catch. The human body cannot produce salt on its own. We must obtain it from the outside, through the food we consume. And on ancient landmasses far from the oceans, finding salt was a brutal struggle. Land plants contain almost no sodium. The only way for our ancestors to secure an adequate supply of salt was by consuming the meat of hunted animals or locating rare mineral springs. Because salt was incredibly vital yet extraordinarily difficult to find, evolution engineered an extreme solution inside our heads. It designed our brains to deeply crave the taste of salt. Every single time an early human managed to get even a tiny trace of salt, the reward center in their brain would explode with dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical that makes us feel immense pleasure, satisfaction, and a powerful drive to repeat the action. Our brains did not design the appreciation for sweet and salty flavors as a form of entertainment. They were navigation tools for survival. The tragedy is that while evolution takes hundreds of thousands of years to alter our biological blueprint, the human environment transformed in a mere matter of centuries. About 10,000 years ago, humans discovered agriculture. We settled down, planted crops, and domesticated animals. The food supply became more stable, yet pure sugar and salt remained prized luxuries. For millennia, sugar was a commodity reserved only for kings and nobility. Salt was so valuable it was used as official currency, becoming the linguistic root of the word salary. Our bodies remained stuck in scarcity mode. Our brains kept operating under the assumption that sugar and salt were rare blessings that must be hoarded whenever the opportunity arose. Then, we fast forward to the 20th century. The industrial food revolution exploded. Suddenly, humanity figured out how to mass-produce cane sugar. We discovered how to mine salt by the millions of tons at an incredibly low cost. Modern food corporations realized something monumental. They discovered the ancient programming running inside our brains. They recognized that humans are genetically powerless to resist sweet and salty flavors. This is where the greatest anomaly in human history began. food scientists inside corporate laboratories started conducting massive experiments. They stopped just making food, they began engineering addiction. There is a famous term in food science known as the Bliss Point. This is a highly precise mathematical formula detailing the optimum combination of sugar, salt, and fat. It is the exact threshold where food tastes so incredibly delicious that it sends the maximum dopamine hit to the brain, yet remains just light enough that it prevents your stomach from feeling full too quickly. When you open a bag of potato chips or crack open a can of soda, you are not dealing with ordinary food. You are dealing with an artifact of neuroengineering explicitly designed to hijack your prehistoric defense systems. In the 1990s, researchers at the University of Michigan conducted a telling experiment on laboratory rats. They fed the rats their natural, whole food diet for several weeks. The rats ate in moderation, consuming only what they needed when they were hungry, and then stopped. Their weight remained stable, and their health was perfect. Then, the researchers changed the menu. They introduced highly processed foods packed with refined sugars and elevated sodium levels, the exact type of food lining our convenience store shelves today. The results were startling. The rats completely lost control over their eating habits. They ignored their internal fullness cues. They continued to chew and swallow even when their stomachs were visibly distended. The natural regulatory systems in their brains were entirely broken down by overwhelming waves of artificial dopamine. The exact same phenomenon is happening to humanity today. When you consume a massive dose of refined sugar, your blood glucose levels spike violently. Your body panics because excessive sugar in the bloodstream is toxic. In response, your pancreas floods your system with insulin to crash those sugar levels back down. Consequently, a few hours later, your blood sugar plummets to a dangerously low trough. This is the well-known sugar crash. The moment the asterisk sugar crash hits, your brain panics, detecting that your body's energy resource has suddenly collapsed. And do you know what your brain does? It flips the ancient survival switch right back on. It triggers a ravenous hunger and demands that you find sweet food again, immediately. It is a vicious, engineered cycle. You eat sugar because your brain demands it, and the sugar itself forces your brain to demand it again a few hours later. We are living on a planet where the greatest threat to human survival has dramatically reversed. For 99% of our existence on Earth, humanity's mortal enemy was starvation. A lack of calories, a shortage of salt. Today, for the first time in evolutionary history, more people globally die from chronic diseases caused by an excess of food rather than a shortage of it. Obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and hypertension are modern plagues born because our ancient bodies are forced to survive in an environment of artificial abundance. Your body was never designed to process the high fructose corn syrup flooding your soft drinks. Your cardiovascular system was never built to handle the tens of grams of pure sodium packed into processed spice packets every single day. Your kidneys are forced to work overtime, straining to filter the sodium building up in your bloodstream, elevating your blood pressure, and silently damaging your arterial walls without you ever realizing it. Yet, we cannot simply choose to stop. Why? Because to our brains, the taste of sweet and salty still carries the exact same weight it did for our ancestors huddled in prehistoric caves. To the most primitive layer of your brain, the limbic system, the sweet pastry or salty snack you hold in your hand tonight represents a monumental victory. It is the symbol of successfully staying alive in a brutal world. An eerie quiet settles in when you look at this reality closely. Every single time you feel a wave of guilt after finishing a massive bag of savory snacks in the middle of the night, look at your reflection and remember this. Your body is actually doing its job perfectly. Your body is trying to save you from a famine that is never going to come. You are carrying the genetic legacy of history's ultimate survivors. The flaw is not within your character. The flaw is that the world we built today is no longer compatible with the biological shell we inhabit. Evolution has abandoned us in the middle of a modern civilization, guided by a biological compass that is entirely obsolete. We are creatures meticulously designed for scarcity, now hopelessly trapped inside a labyrinth of abundance. So, every time your tongue encounters a rich sweetness or a sharp hit of salt, a silent dialogue unfolds inside your mind. It is a conflict between the modern human who understands the danger of empty calories, and the ancient ancestors sleeping deep within you, whispering in the quiet dark, feeling profoundly grateful because tonight, they believe they will not have to starve.